Okay, welcome to the January 21st meeting of Scituate Conservation Commission. Just a couple of quick things to read. Town of Scituate, this meeting is being held virtual as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting, communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Scituate in accordance with that open meeting law. And the Town of Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing and enforce an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcome and respected. And we ask our committee members and all that participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. That said, we have an agenda. And would anyone like to accept that agenda?
I make a motion, we accept the agenda as written.
That's Penny. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's from Robbie.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Great. Thank you. All right. Get started here. 164 Turner Road. That's continued, correct? That's
Yeah, I think I have a request to continue. I think we were going to have Eric take that motion
okay.
or make that or okay.
Yeah, Eric, I need to recluse myself, so it could just the rest of you could just
Yep.
Jen, why don't you kind of shepherd them through there?
You want me to make the motion?
Yes.
The first item is 164 Turner Road. The applicant seeks to request to the 23rd of February. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to continue 164 Turner Road to February 23rd.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, second from Robbie. Roger?
Yes.
And yes from me. We're all set there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Moving on.
All right. So the next one is 30 Marshfield Ave. And we've already opened this. So do we have someone?
Yeah. We do. We have Jeff DeLisi and Brad Holmes.
That's correct. Yes. Also, I'm sure listening in on the call are my clients, Steve and or Elizabeth Tripp. So for the record, attorney Jeff DeLisi from Warrenberger, DeLisi and Harris, on behalf of the applicant, Brad Holmes is here also is with ECR as our consultant. Jen, at the outset, I'm just curious, did you happen to receive an email from me at around 5 o'clock this evening containing an attachment which I wanted you to show on the screen?
I have not opened my email since I came back in. Is this new? We haven't.
So let me explain. I'll summarize the project briefly. So we filed back in the summer for approval of a plan that would allow us to construct a small accessory dwelling unit on the property, which is something that is consistent with Massachusetts law and the Affordable Homes Act, et cetera. By definition, it has to be small. It can't be more than half the size of the existing primary dwelling, which is about 1,600 square feet. So we had originally come in and filed a plan which what you see on the screen right now is the existing conditions plan. And you'll see that there is the primary dwelling. To the left of the primary dwelling is a patio area. To the left of that is a building. And then in the back left corner, you'll see another detached building. The property presently is non-compliant with Title V standards. And what the goal of this was, this is entirely a previously disturbed site. It was once the site of a hotel. There is, as so many of the properties along the ocean, which is directly to the east of this, on the right of your screen. As is the case, there's a concrete retaining wall, which you can see that kind of goes the entire rear of the property and wraps around into Marshfield Avenue, which is not actually a street that is utilized for passage of vehicles anymore. It's kind of stopped off by the town because it's kind of the entrance to the public beach. So essentially, over time, my client has planted some Rosa rugosa. They've owned the property for over 20, maybe 30 years. Um, and sand has migrated and so forth into the property in the approximate area of kind of, especially along Marshfield Ave, um, and then you can see on the plan there's some vegetation that's in the area of that building, the detached building to the left of the dwelling. What the plan and the goal is here is to create an ADU by removing that building in the detached building to the left of the dwelling, and by removing the accessory structure off the bottom, on the corner of the property, bottom left, and by removing the patio, and thereby putting an accessory dwelling unit in. The planning board has approved the ADU to be a 742 square foot gross living space ADU, and you can see it there, but it looks bigger than that because the dash lines on the top of the box and on the bottom of the box indicate decking. So it's really 742 square feet. And then there are two decks that are about a total of about 336 square feet off of the north and the south of the actual dwelling unit itself and attached to it. And the concept here is to raise the structure onto piles and take what is existing two buildings completely outside and above the FEMA flood zone. When we were here, we've addressed, Stan Humphreys, our coastal geologist, had submitted two letters to the commission going through the standards of coastal dune. And there was some question early on in this application as to whether there would even be a pathway for approval of this. I think I explained to the commission that I had spoken with Greg DeCisa. He confirmed and told me that I can tell the board that the standard for new structure in this area would be no adverse impact on the resource area. And there's also the ability under the regulation to permit small accessory buildings that actually do have some adverse impact, so long as they meet certain criteria. And Stan Humphreys went through that. So we have the ability to have a pathway. We have the ability to the project is in particular worthy of the commission because of the fact that it would bring the property into compliance with Title V. We would have, as you can see here, a whole bunch of mitigation plantings. We would remove the patio and some impervious area, and we would take what are two smaller buildings and completely remove them from the flood hazard area by replacing them with a fully compliant building. The problem is that, and that's a lot, but the problem here is that we also had proposed a driveway that there is already an existing driveway coming in off of the top left of the property here on Marshfield Ave. And the concept would be for vehicles to go to the back of the site and swing a left to the area behind the existing building, the existing primary dwelling. And so that was a negative attribute that we learned from the commission. In addition, there was quite a bit of feedback about what can we do to try and avoid um, uh, any any disturbance whatsoever to any existing vegetation, whether that be natural beach vegetation or vegetation that we planted, like the Rosa rugosa in the center of the site. Um, so what we've done since the last meeting is take the time to have our land surveyors go out and map where all of the existing vegetation is exactly, so that we could then try and design um, or redesign this such that any structure that would be constructed, if you were to approve it, would not have any disturbance whatsoever of any vegetation. So what we came up with was what I had emailed to Jen before tonight's meeting, because there had been what happened was is that we figured out where the vegetation was. We figured out where the viable location of the building would be. I met with and spoke with the building inspector, who confirmed to me that there would be an 8-foot rear yard setback, which would allow us to bring the building closer to the rear line. And we went ahead and we designed something. And then after the new year, the building inspector got back to me and indicated that upon reflection, he felt that it was a 20-foot setback, which caused us to have a little bit of chaos we were on the precipice of submitting something in a timely fashion for discussion tonight, and that kind of threw it into a tailspin. So what we landed on in talking with the building inspector was that this might, and I use the word might, be the type of project that um, might qualify for a zoning variance to allow us to utilize the 8-foot setback, um, which is an allowed setback. For instance, if we were to put an office building or a restaurant in, we could be 8 feet off. But for some reason, with an accessory dwelling unit, he was requiring 20. So he thought that, suggested that we might want to give it a shot to go grab a variance from zoning. But we have this issue where if we were to go and seek a variance from zoning, we would be right back in front of this commission, not knowing before we redesign a project and go to zoning whether you would be amenable to this project, even in a lesser state. And when I say we would move the building, we would also decrease the size of the building by removing the decking off of the front and back. And in addition, one of the things that, if Jen were to have shown the plan tonight, that you would have seen would be we would have a little drive that comes in and immediately wraps to the left with crushed seashells and a little bollard and roping border that prevents movement of vehicles on the site. So actually, between um, moving a building, reducing the size of the building, ensuring that it's not on any vegetation, still having a planting plan, still upgrading the Title V, removing buildings that are currently flood hazards outside of the flood zone and replacing them with a fully flood compliant building, and limiting the movement of vehicles on the site, we think would be an incredible win for the commission. And what we're trying to do very humbly is take your input and try to design something that we could utilize for accessory dwelling purposes, because Steve and Elizabeth are getting older and would like to reside in that building, but also be as amenable and respectful of your issues and concerns and values as we possibly can. And that's what we came up with. And I'd love it if you could show it, Jen, just so that the commission could see what I've just described quickly, and really what I'd be asking, even if you couldn't give it to me tonight, is for a continuance, and for the next meeting, hopefully for you to say, yeah, we would be open to this concept. We think it's responsive to our concerns, and we appreciate the efforts you've made, and go ahead to zoning and come back to us after that. So that's really kind of where I'm at. I apologize for being long-winded. This has been a long project, and I appreciate your patience and understanding in the fact that you don't have a revised plan tonight in a timely fashion, but I indicated, and I think the reason why. So that's pretty much it. And I'm here to answer any questions, and so is Brad, who prepared a concept that I described tonight.
Frank, I think you're muted.
Sorry. What do we have up now on the screen? Is that a
This
prior?
is the last plan. This is the planting plan we had received in either August, I think, of 2025.
Yeah,
So,
about that. Yeah.
So the last time we had this on the agenda was December 15th. And then we had a discussion on November 5th.
And September 22nd before that.
Right. We reopened it on September 22nd. This is the 10th time we've had it on an agenda. I just want to say that we've been continuing since December of 2024.
Yeah, but Jen, that's true and not true, right? Because didn't we republish a brand new hearing in the summertime?
Correct. September 22nd, we reopened it.
Yeah.
And we haven't received anything new, but I want to go back to the sheds and the patio. I don't believe any of those were permitted, so I'm hesitant to be talking about replacing them. I don't think those went through a process with us as far as being there in the first place. And I believe they all went in within the last several years. We do have concerns about storm damage, pollution prevention, and this project meeting the requirements of no adverse impact. Yes, I would say the septic would be a good thing to have done. But we certainly don't have a plan in time for anybody to have reviewed it before tonight. And at the last meeting, I don't think we really wanted to do another continuance was what I had heard. I mean, I don't know how much you want me to go into my thoughts on the plan that we're looking at, but to add to it, with what I have been given as far as what's proposed, it would trigger stormwater. And I do think some of these plantings are in an area where we probably need a letter updated from Habitat. I think initially there wasn't proposed mitigation on the front of the property. So that would just be another piece to update.
Yeah, you're right about that, Jen. I think that Natural Heritage had come in with a letter that indicated that out in the beach, which is a portion of this property, actually, an area piping plover habitat area, perhaps. But then the letter went on to say no adverse impact for what you're proposing to do within the site. And then after that, we thought that the commission would appreciate some kind of enhancement plan, which is what you see, which is to the east of the existing concrete wall, the seawall. But yeah, no, I understand and appreciate your comments, and
the vegetation has already been removed where that current shed is. I think that was removed maybe even before the filing began. just to kind of speak to the disturbance that's happened on the site. I don't know if that's just the initial stuff. I just, again, we opened this in December of 2024. We reopened it in September 22nd. And I think the initial comments from the beginning have kind of remained that this is an area that the storms come right through this site. And so that's a big concern. And then it is dune, and we're adding, 1,000 square foot footprint to the site in an area where all of this
But
happens.
and I fully respect that, but again, we're talking right now, the verbiage that you're utilizing is speaking of the plan that you have up on your screen.
Which is
Where,
what's been submitted. I don't
yes, yeah,
have the other information to comment on. It's not
right,
no
right.
hard
And
copies. The commission hasn't gotten it.
yeah, yeah. Yep. So I have that, and I have the ability to submit it. And again, it would have been submitted in a timely fashion had I not received the last minute call from the building inspector that upended months worth of preparation for this very meeting tonight, which is something highly unusual. I'd like the opportunity to show the commission what I've described. Um, and if you don't want to show it tonight, I understand why. You have your policies, but I'd like a continuance for 2 weeks to be able to show you. Because we
Right.
think that we've done a lot of work to be responsive to your questions and concerns.
Jeff, and maybe we can just chat for a second. So we've we've opened this tonight, so we're going to allow members to make comment. And I don't think that we should be addressing the new sort of your proposal.
I don't necessarily want you to address it. I just want you to see it, just to see.
I guess I'm saying more your proposal that you would want us to wait until I get maybe I need to get some clarification. What you were saying is you've got a new plan, and you'd like the commission to comment on whether they would be favorable to your plan, so that you could then proceed back to the ZBA.
That's
Right?
correct. Yes.
Okay. So I think that it's a big ask for the commission to do that this evening, and not even have the other information in front of them. So I don't think I would do that. I think the other part of it is the length of time that this has gone on, and whether it's justifiable. You've made your case for that. I think I'd rather address that. Maybe if any commission members have a question, we can go that route. But my suggestion would be that let's be sure that we want to continue this to a future meeting. I don't know where we look in 2 weeks for an agenda, but I'd like to get a temperature from the commission members that we're okay to continue this, and then get that information out so that we can further discuss. Does that seem reasonable?
It seems I fully anticipated that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm easy to read, I guess. Jen, are you okay with that?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. Penny?
First and foremost, Jeff, we need information a week prior to the next meeting if we decide to continue this. You cannot. I mean, I'm just appalled that you even want to discuss something that you just gave to Jen that she hasn't even seen. Other than that, this is not a favorite project of mine. I think it's much too much in the area that they're proposing. It even the pictures that they submitted a while back in November of 24. Give me a break. So when a storm comes through, it goes through this whole property. So I have to be honest, I am not in favor of continuing this.
You're not. Is that what you said?
I am not in favor.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, I'll be frank. With all due respect, Jeff, I mean, this has been presented 10 times, and I understand that there's been work on the back end, but I mean, that's a problem for, unfortunately, the applicant and you to figure out. And to hear this tonight without having something new for us to review ahead of this meeting is exceptionally disappointing, and certainly trying of the patience that I have for this project at this point. Back in November of 24, I remember saying that, you know, if the house was going to be elevated, the existing house, and everything was going to be compliant, you'd be making significant improvements to the site. This is just introducing a new dwelling unit while maintaining the existing house is potential hazard. The septic system, I mean, sure, I can get on board with what that looks like, but I think until things are a bit more concrete on the applicant's end, maybe a withdrawal of your application until you figure out a real path here, because it seems like we're languishing, and that's not really helpful for anyone on this project.
Yeah, I might want to comment on that if I can, Frank. So I was not involved in this project back in November 2024. I didn't become involved in this project essentially until the spring of this year, and I engineered let's remove the project from the hearing agenda, re-advertise, and come back. And I think in retrospect, what I should have done was come back with a plan that was different than what was in front of the board in 2024. And it was by and large the same thing, with the addition of some mitigation and the removal of patio pavers that may or may not have been done in compliance with your order. What maybe you're misunderstanding me. What I could have requested a continuance of tonight's meeting, and because I knew I wasn't going to have a plan available to you for your consideration. And I maybe should have thought it through a bit about, well, geez, if I show them a plan, it's not even like I'm going to be asking for them to necessarily vote on one. But, how we got here from August to now, the first hearing, you guys were clear you didn't like what was in front of you, which is on your screen now, absent essentially the mitigation plantings. And but you had in front of you a comment from DEP that confused you guys, I thought, as to whether you could even approve the project, whether you even had the legal ability to do so. So you asked me to research that, which I did, and it took some time, and I got back to you. And then it was okay, we hear you, but we're still disappointed because, there's a lot of movement of vehicles on the site. There's vegetation on the site. And so, honestly, like, I hear the words, disappointment, frustrated, withdraw. Um, all I've tried to do is be responsive to your comments. And I have what I think to be probably the best possible project that I could put in front of you.
But
And
Jeff, not to interrupt.
all I'm asking for is a continuance for 2 weeks so that you could do that. And I was coming in tonight just trying to give you an update as to where my mindset was and the fact that it was a difficult project for me because of the zoning issue that I just ran into. I think that you know me well enough to know that um, I'm not the kind that's gonna um, do something to undermine you to the point that you're indicating you're disappointed. I'm just trying to be responsive.
But Jeff, to come tonight without having a plan for us to have reviewed,
It's just
like
I'm just giving you a status update. Is I have a plan which I could file before the end of the week, which you can have in front of you in 2 weeks, and you could see some progress. And you would have something to comment on. And
I
I
think the
have
important
that.
thing was demonstrating no adverse impact and dune vegetation remaining. Mitigation cannot replace, a proposed removal of dune vegetation, whether it was planted by someone or it was pre-existing as a naturally occurring, vegetative stand. Like, without
Which
seeing
is
that,
why we went in the last month to try and find the area on the lot that won't require any disturbance of dune vegetation. That's
but
what
you
the
have to
goal
at
was.
least concede that the disappointment is founded in the fact that we don't have anything to look at tonight.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want you to have something to look at. And maybe I was being naive thinking that I could linguistically explain what we've done since the last meeting and hope that you would continue the meeting for 2 weeks to be able to look at it. That's really what I'm trying to accomplish tonight, not trying to get you to consider something in the last minute. I know you wouldn't do that. I wanted to explain why I didn't have anything for you, which had to do with the snafu involving the building department.
Understood.
Okay. Roger?
Yeah, a couple questions. I comments or questions as well. Um, I've not been involved with this one as long as some of these other folks have. I do think the fact that we don't have something, I think people have talked about that. Frank, I guess my question to you is like, what are we solving for here? What options do we have? Is it a continuance or something else? And I guess I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to solve for in this discussion. I know we've been talking about this thing for 15, 20 minutes or so, and I'm just trying to figure out what do we need to do on this one, right? Because it's like, if it's going to close, then close it. If it's a continuance, like, are we going to get anything different other than seeing the plan next week, right? Jeff's going to
Well,
submit it, and then we can look at it, and then we're going to have a discussion next week as well. I guess I'm trying to understand what we're.
so I guess when I look at this, I'm thinking 2 weeks is pretty optimistic to do this. What I'm hearing from the applicant is that what they really want to do is show us a revised plan that we would give our reaction to as to whether we might be favorable accepting it, but then they really don't want to move forward, or we wouldn't do that anyways until they go before the zoning board of appeals. So am I right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, so really what they would like to put forward is a revised plan, show it to the commission, say, hey, we've made these changes and we've tried to blend all this together, but we now know that we cannot put the building where we anticipated. And so we have to go back and regroup and 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 do all this work, but they don't want to go through the effort of going before the ZBA if they think they're going to fall short with the commission. So it's a little bit tricky because we're still going to have a full discussion and hearings on the new plan. But I also appreciate the fact that they would like to get the feedback before they go through the effort of going before the ZBA. And having been in similar circumstances, I can appreciate some of the issues that Attorney DeLisi's laid out tonight. Um, and and it is hard when you're trying to run these things and you're in a bunch of resource areas and you have other issues like setback requirements and the ADA
Yeah.
or the ADU requirements. So it's very complicated. So it's just if we think that we're willing to kind of hear them out on their next plan, if there's enough of us to think that that's worthwhile, then we could talk about when we continue this to. If we think we've already heard and seen everything we want to, then to Jen's point, this has gone on for a long time, and maybe we should not do that. I don't mind hearing someone's. Sometimes we do have applicants come in and to say, "Hey, here's what I got going on before I dump a pile more money into this project. Do I have a chance, or would what's the commission's thinking on this?"
But I guess, and so Jeff, maybe this is to you. Like, how different is your plan? I mean, if it's only like, I mean, you've heard Penny and you've heard Eric, and if it's not going to be a significant alteration, are we just going to kind of go through this exercise again in 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or whenever it is? So I guess I'm trying to understand, like,
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Roger. I would not be asking for this if I didn't think that it was a, a change that attempted to respond to your prior comments by reducing the size of the building and the coverage, by relocating the building to an area where there would be no impact whatsoever on existing vegetation. And by limiting significantly the movement of vehicles on the site. Those are three things, and I think that the benefit to it outweighs doing nothing and maybe withdrawing the project, because if I did that, we would be left with a site that does have some compliance issues and hazards in a flood zone. So I think that the pro versus con of this, and there are a significant amount of changes that I'm describing. And you possibly would look at it in 15 minutes and say, it's just not good enough. And that's what I need to hear. But I just want you to look at it.
Thanks, Frank. I got it. That's enough for me.
Robbie?
Thanks, Frank. I don't have an issue continuing this. Like others, looking for the information that we're discussing tonight to be put on a plan. I'm interested in the restriction of vehicle movement on the site. I think that is beneficial, so I'll be interested to see that and how that's achieved in a somewhat permanent fashion. Also, I don't know if there's a letter that's been submitted or document prior that demonstrates how the project meets the performance standards. I was looking through the file. It might exist, but I don't see it. So
yeah, there's two of those from ECR from Stan Humphreys in the file.
Okay, I'll take a look again. I think the one from ECR, one of them had to do with the septic system, but I'll look. So that's my my thought on the project. I'm okay continuing, but I think we need to see, demonstrable change from what we're looking at right now to make it worth everyone's time.
Yeah, understood.
Okay. So we don't have Jen or Brendan here tonight. I get everybody's frustration. Personally, I'd like to get the information, take a look at it, and then weigh back in. I guess we didn't ask if there was anybody in the audience, but if we're really gonna just move on to another plan, I guess I should for as an open meeting, ask for any comment, and then maybe I could get a motion from somebody. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this one this evening? Any hands up?
I have Richard. I'm going to unmute Richard.
Hello, my name is Richard Baza. I want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I live at 22 Marshfield Avenue, immediate abutter to the trips. I've sat and now listened to about 10 of these meetings that we've listened to the same thing over and over and over again, and the same plan, and nothing has changed. I know Attorney DeLisi. He's actually worked for me in the past, and I do respect him, but he's alluded to a lot of things and a lot of conversations with the DEP. The last meeting, he said they hadn't even looked at a plan. Tonight, he tells us that an accessory building is allowed when the bylaw pretty clearly states that an accessory building is not an allowed project when there's an existing home on the lot. So setting that aside, they haven't made any provisions to deal with the abutters, adverse impacts, water flow, storm drainage, etc. So they just kind of alluded to moving things around and doing this and that. They made no attempt to work with any of the neighbors or any of their concerns with water. Impermeable surfaces, they're talking about replacing sheds and pavers that had never been permitted, and saying, well, we're going to rip up this stuff that we put in and replace it with something new. So I just think there's a lot of we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but this is what's been going on, and they've made no attempts to alleviate any of my concerns, quite frankly. So we'll see what the next plan shows.
Thank you very much.
And actually, I have not seen anyone out there doing any type of survey work with the vegetation or anything like that. And I look at this site every day, so I don't know who's been out doing what, but certainly no one's been out there that I've seen. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so you've heard the applicant. Do we have you want to have a motion to continue? And I guess before we motion to continue, what does our agenda look like over the next week and the following meeting, Jen?
Yeah,
if we choose to continue.
Sure. The next meeting is in a week and a half on February 2nd, and we do have there is some large filings on that one. February 23rd, I have a few new things, and several things have been continued to that date. And then we have March 16th and March 30th.
Okay, so the second's closing in pretty fast, so that doesn't
seem a week and a half. Yeah, likely.
And I'm sorry, so the 23rd looks heavy, or
it'll be full by the end of tonight.
Okay. And then we have to move out to March 2nd.
I would do March 16th or the 30th.
Okay.
I just saying I wouldn't do March 2nd.
Okay. All right. So if somebody wants to try to make a motion, I'm not trying to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue 30 Marshville Avenue until March 16th meeting.
Okay. That's Robbie. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
It's Roger. Penny?
No.
Okay. Eric?
Yeah.
Okay. And Frank, yes. So we'll continue to then get that information to us and anything else as soon as possible, if you could.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And
I think you get the gravity of where we're going with this, Jeff, and I hope we can get some real good things together. good information.
What's the date again that you landed on?
March 16th.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
You don't have any deposits down for a vacation then, do you?
If I do, I'll cancel them for you.
Oh my God. I wouldn't do that. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Yep.
Let's see. What's here? 61 Brook Street. I got to open that one. On January 21st, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetland hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, for a notice of intent filed by Dana and Denise, is it Baki? For the construction of an addition of a single-family dwelling within riverfront and vegetated wetland resources areas located at 61 Brook Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the website.
Good evening, members of the commission. Brad Holmes from ECR on behalf of Dana and Dennis Box for their property located at 61 Brook Street. We filed a notice of intent for a single-family home improvement project. A DEP has reviewed the application and issued a file number. Thanks, Jen, for pulling up the plan. What you have in front of you is the existing and proposed conditions plan to include the mitigation proposal. So let me go over what the site contains, and then we'll get into the home improvement project. So 61 Brook Street contains an existing single-family home with a paved driveway, a detached garage, patio, well-maintained lawn and landscape. And as you move to the right of your screen or easterly, there's the Scituate Brook with its wetland resource areas flows through the property. So we have the Scituate Brook with a 200-foot riverfront area. We have land subject to coastal storm flowage, which you can see there in the red line is the FEMA flood zone associated with the brook. And we also have a little bit of a bordering vegetated wetland fringe to the Scituate Brook. The property actually extends quite a bit to the right of your screen. It heads over to almost towards First Parish Road. The property was built according to the Scituate Assessors records in 1895, so it's a property that predates the wetlands regulations. Thanks, Jen. You can see that it is a fairly larger parcel, but unfortunately that land to the right is a wetland resource area. So what we're proposing with this notice of intent is we're proposing an addition, 618 square foot addition at the rear of the house. The addition would sit over the existing deck and concrete patio for the most part. It is within the 50-foot Town of Scituate buffer strip. We can't avoid that, as you can see the most of the properties within that area, but it is within an existing maintained lawn area. So it sits within the developed patio and little edge of the deck and maintain lawn. So for this project to comply with the riverfront standards, because it's a previously developed riverfront, we're held to the standards of any new increase of degraded area, which would be the area of the proposed addition outside of the patio. We have to mitigate that. So we have approximately 290 square feet of new degraded area associated with the addition. That's the portion of the addition that would sit over the lawn area. So for us to comply with the riverfront regulations, we need to mitigate that at a 2-to-1 ratio. So we're proposing 580 square feet of mitigation, which would consist of native plantings to remove a lawn and landscape area and revegetate that with native vegetation, native shrubs, and a seed mix. And that would also increase the vegetated buffer strip, which the Conservation Commission regulates under the wetlands bylaw. So we're able to stay outside of the FEMA flood zone. We're able to develop over the existing developed and lawn area. It's a fairly smaller improvement project to bring this home up to a better livable standard. Uh, with that, I think I'll bring it back to the commission. We've been able to meet compliance with the riverfront regulations and other regulations, and I think we've been able to kind of come up with a good mitigation proposal to increase the vegetative buffer strip to the stream. So with that, I'll bring it back to the commission.
Thank you, Brett. Jen, do you want to comment first?
Yes. Can we zoom in a bit more so we can see where the proposed work is? I think so. I do want to say no comments from DEP. We do have proof of a butter notification, and the plan we're looking at is from 1/13/2026. And it might be a little bit hard to see, but in the back of the house there is a concrete patio that almost goes to the back of where the garage is. So that's some of that, yes, some of that disturbed space that's already there that I think they are trying to work with. Otherwise, there is some of this addition is adding to the 50-foot buffer. And the work is outside of the flood zone, as was mentioned. And as you saw on the other plan, we do have a mitigation plan with some details to it.
Okay.
One more thing, I'm not sure if they need to go to zoning or not. They might need to, but more for increasing square footage of living space, not necessarily other types of reasons.
Can add to that, the applicants have discussed the project with the building inspector, and they informed them to get through conservation and then work, file with the building department and then work through that stage. So there has been coordination with the building inspector on this. And they're on the line this evening as well if there's additional questions.
Okay. Eric?
Good evening, Brad.
Good evening, Eric.
I think my first question is on the table that discusses impervious area. Is that existing number and proposed number the percent of degradation within the riverfront area, or the degraded area rather, is what I'm trying to say. So the existing 2158 being 11.3% is the existing degraded, and the proposed is the 2448. 12.8% of the site is the new degraded in total with the proposed project.
I'm looking at the narrative that I have in the notice of intent. There's a riverfront area calculations. Are you referring to the numbers that's on the plan in the table, or the narrative?
The one that's on the plan, just because, and maybe I'm misunderstanding this, but for riverfront, the percentage degraded is in totality of what's on site currently within that riverfront area. So I just was looking for clarity. It's just if you could walk us through what those numbers are in reference to what's on the plan in front of us today.
Sure. So the total riverfront area on the site is as stated, 17,690 square feet. The existing degraded riverfront, which consists of areas that have a loss of topsoil, so it would be the driveway, the walkways, the patio, the garage, that's 2158 square feet or 12.2%. So we're already over the 10% of riverfront that you'd be allowed to add up to. What we're proposing of new increase of degraded riverfront is 290 square feet. That's the area of the the proposed addition that's outside of degraded area and sits within an area of lawn. Even though the lawns say developed, it's not degraded per the riverfront standards.
Right.
So any increase that we do on the property, because we're already over 10%, the only way that we can accomplish adding new degraded riverfront is if we mitigate that at at least a 2-to-1 ratio. So we're proposing the planting area at 580 square feet to comply with the increase of that 290 square feet.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just walk through on that, just so we could all have an understanding of where that number comes from and what that number at 10% means. So thank you for that.
Sure.
My other sort of thought on this is just work within the 50 that is new in terms of impervious area outside of the existing concrete paver patio and existing garage. I don't know if there's a way that there could be a reduction of work within the 50 that has not already having or does not already have impervious on it, whether that's the existing deck that's still sort of visible here on the plan, or incorporating the garage into the project, working within areas that have already been disturbed within the 50 rather than introducing new encroachment onto the 50, because that's certainly something that as you know, this board tends to push back strongly on.
I understand that. Yes. The patio you can see the patio extends to the existing deck. I'm sorry, patio extends to the existing garage. Um, thanks, Jen. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to look at that existing between the garage and the proposed house. I'm sorry, proposed addition. Could that section of patio be eliminated and converted to lawn, if possibly? If we did that, then that would reduce the amount of mitigation significantly that we have to comply with the riverfront. So
we would still be looking for something within the 50 though, right? Just because there is a decent amount of increased in impervious and disturbance within the 50 that doesn't currently exist. And obviously any work, that is being proposed is within the 50. So whether or not that reduces the riverfront requirement, we're still going to want to see something for any work that is within the 50.
we can look at that. I think the opportunity is that area between the garage and the proposed addition where that existing concrete patio is. Other than that, it's pretty well lawn to the back of the wetland to the river. This, as you can see, it's definitely a tight site. Um, uh, Unfortunately, it's a larger site, but most of it's wetland resource areas as you head the other way.
Of course. Well, that's all I have for right now. Thank you.
Okay. Penny?
Yeah, Brad, is there going to be a foundation, a cellar?
Yes, we talked about that. It would be a crawl space at most. They wouldn't. I don't. They're just with the higher groundwater and site conditions. It wouldn't be something that would support a full foundation.
Okay. And it's a big addition, you have to admit that. I mean, it's almost the size or the size of the existing house. It's huge. I'm just a little concerned of it. There's only going to be a 25-foot buffer from the wetlands. I wish it was a little more. I understand it's disturbed, so forth and so on, but Yeah, I'd like to see what you're gonna come up with for mitigation. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Penny. Robbie?
Thanks, Frank. Couple of questions, I guess. How big is the addition in square footage?
It's 25 by 25. The amount of the addition that's over lawn and it is 290 square feet. The rest of it's over in the existing concrete patio.
So, okay. And then the area between the existing garage and the proposed addition there, is there going to be an entrance or passageway for between those two structures, or like are people going to exit on that side where it says 25.9 feet?
I don't have the design details on that, but we could get some more detail on that.
Yeah.
The applicants are on the line. Dana is raising her hand. She might be able to give you a little more functionality of the proposed addition.
Dina,
wanna
I'm
hear that?
unmuting you.
Yeah, I am you. Yeah, we're eliminating that back entrance. So we have an entrance in the front door and the current one on the side. So there won't be an entrance between those two.
Where the 25.9 is, not on that side.
I'm not sure. North is to the left?
To the top.
Yeah. I mean, would grass grow between those two structures? I'm not sure. Maybe, I guess. I don't know.
If we take out the patio.
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure that enough sunlight would reach it, but I guess, I don't know. That's my only thought on changing that area to grass. And then where the proposed mitigation is, that's currently lawn, the 580 square feet of mitigation area.
Yes, it's lawn and there's a landscape planting bed in that area. So we take out the landscape planting bed and lawn and then replant it with natives.
Okay. Well, I think that if the elimination of the patio between the two structures causes a reduction in that mitigation area, I'd rather have the mitigation area than the grass between the two buildings personally. So then the 25 by 25 foot is like 625 square foot addition.
Actually, it's listed on the plan, 618.
618. Okay. Thank you. No other questions.
Okay. Roger?
Yeah, and if you said this, I missed it, Brad. What's the distance between the proposed structure and the garage? Going back to Robbie's question about grass growing there, how big of a space is that?
It's not marked on the plan, but I'd say probably 5 or 6 feet.
Okay. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions.
Do we have anybody, get all the members tonight, anybody in the audience? Any hands up?
And Frank,
Yes.
just to sort of reinforce, the proposed mitigation area is strictly for riverfront. And that means, as far as I'm aware, we're not seeing anything for work within the 50. So that I just want to stress that point, that there is no mitigation for any work that is being done within the 50, as I understand it. Not
Brad, you want to comment on that?
Yes, Eric, you're correct. If we had to add to the mitigation, I don't think that would be a problem. We're trying to keep it basically within the existing lawn and developed area. We could certainly increase the amount of mitigation to include some benefits towards the buffer zone.
Yeah, certainly a reduction in lawn area beyond what the proposed mitigation area is on the plan as it is currently would be a good place for you guys to start, I think.
Okay. Did I have covered everybody, right? So I get it. It's a tight area. Houses are already established. The brook is already a garage that encroaches. So it looks like the applicant's sort of holding this similar encroachment towards the brook. And this is on a full foundation. I think you said that. So there's obviously going to be a little bit more disturbance towards that buffer till it's backfilled and graded.
Sorry, I think he said it was a crawl space. So,
But either way, I mean, they're still got to dig down 4 feet or so. So, you know, I guess the trenching and the filled material and whatnot will you're gonna disturb probably another 5 or 6 feet beyond, and
Yeah.
then it'll get replanted. But I also know that all along that stretch, there's a number of houses that are pretty close. I mean, the old fire station sits on top of it, or the parking lot. There's just a lot of encroachment along there. I think in terms of environmental benefit, certainly we don't like to see things encroach more, but if we were to get a substantial buffer, to me that would sort of balance out the additional encroachment. But I'm wondering if that mitigation area could extend from property line to property line. I'm not quite sure why it has that little curving piece, Brad.
Yeah, we could look at that.
Is there a reason that
That was kind of, yeah, it was taking into account there's a landscape bed there and there was lawn. I mean, when you look at the property in the field, the bridge that's actually on the other side of the property line, kind of it feels like this property. So in the field, the property lines feel a little different than actually the surveyor was able to correct the lines. But we can look at bringing that mitigation area further, I guess, west, and also address Eric's comments.
I guess that's what I'd like to see is just some more mitigation for our willing to work with a 25-foot buffer or 30, whatever it looks like. Maybe it might be close to 30 feet as opposed to 50. But I also get there's already a concrete patio and some other changes, so it'd be good to see some of that corrected. How do you want to move forward? Anybody? Jen?
Well, Robbie does have his hand up, and
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Robbie?
Oh, do you, are there any, I mean, if we want to see a new plan, then I would like to receive that filing so we can review it. And if there's anything else they want to do to shift around where the addition is, I can't tell if I heard any comments like that, but
No.
When can we continue it to, Jen?
well, is the only thing we're looking for is more mitigation?
I guess that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so.
Unless other members want to have additional requests.
You know, the whole I say the mitigation area is something that's important for us, but keeping in mind the riverfront as well. And I could be wrong on this, but like also it's not just the 10% disturbed, but it also, you can't move closer to the brook, which it does appear as if they're trying to keep in line with the existing garage, but there still is migration, you know, uh, towards it in totality. So I look at this and it's a complicated one because of how tight it is. So I don't know, are there other components relative to riverfront that we need to be more acutely, paying attention to on this one, Jen?
Well, I think for the riverfront, we've met the numbers, but I think for the 50-foot no disturb, we're definitely going into the 50-foot, and this is just the addition. So there's I don't see any decks or patios or any exits from the house. I think they've mentioned they're just using the side and the front, but making sure we're
Because I still
accounting for the full change on the site.
Right. And I still go back to my initial comment about, reducing new into the 50. And I know Brad had said, well, we could remove the existing deck. Well, that's existing. So is there a way that this proposed addition can change somehow where we're not introducing new disturbance and impervious in the do not disturb 50-foot? Obviously, there'll be something, regardless of the plan, which is why I referenced additional mitigation, and that would be part of that, but not necessarily just looking at adding some more plants, but also, is there a way that we could review how this proposed addition is interfacing with that 50-foot buffer zone as it relates to the existing structures on site that are impervious? I guess that's what I'm also sort of hung up on within the 50, is just not wanting to breeze past the fact that there is potential here to maybe reimagine how this addition is laid out.
Well, I'd like to, take your comments and ask for a continuance so we can look at the mitigation, look at the area between the garage and the addition. Um, I think that 20, basically 25 by 26 feet it looks big on this plan, but you can see that the existing garage, you might be able to fit a sports car in there, but you're not getting my pickup truck in there. And the addition, it's not an oversized addition. Yes, we're in the 50-foot, but as I said, this property was built in 1895, so we're stuck with, obviously what we have, but how can we make that better? How can we make a better vegetated buffer strip than what exists now? And I don't, this site doesn't have a vegetated buffer strip, but if we can come back to the commission and show you that we're creating a new buffer strip that significantly mitigates the proposed addition, then I think that's what we're going to look at doing and coming back to you.
Okay, I guess, Brad, the other thing, just in discussing it with your clients, obviously the house is an older house and there was no concern for the brook at that point. I'm not sure when the garage was built, but again, it wasn't when we had some of these regulations. But the house this expansion does move a lot closer to the brook, and it's substantially in the 50. I don't know whether there could be any reduction in that the 25-foot 9, even if the addition got wider. Just moving it away from the brook a little bit or somewhat would be helpful. I mean, maybe there's architecturally it's the way that it works or whatever, but I think the setbacks in that zone are only 8 feet, if I remember correctly. So something to consider, and they might be able to get close to the same square footage, but maybe a different configuration. I don't know. Just I would take a look at those things in the buffer and let's continue it and come back to the commission members and see. The other thing that might be helpful, I know you can't go into other people's property, but maybe the next time is give us an image of what it looks like to the left and right of this property so that we can see just how that disturbance impacts the area around it. You follow me?
Yes, thanks.
I think it would be helpful to know what's happening on either side, even if it's just some aerial information would be good.
Sure.
All right. How much time, Jen, do we want
Well, the next meeting's February 2nd, so we would need the changes, in 2 days. So after that, it's February 23rd.
Brad?
February 23rd would be appropriate. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll
Can I get a
make a
mo-
motion then to continue to February 23rd.
Okay, that's Penny. For a second,
I'll second.
that's Eric. All in favor, Roger,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
20 Ridge Hill, this is a continuation.
I think we opened it, but I actually don't remember if we've discussed it. I think we just continued it, and this is Brad Holmes as well.
Thank you,
Good
members of the
evening again.
commission.
Good evening.
Good evening. We've submitted a notice of intent for 20 Ridge Hill. The applicant and owner, I believe, is on the line, Jeff Lawson. The application has been submitted for a single-family home reconstruction project. DEP has reviewed the application and submitted a file number. The site contains a single-family home, I'll call it an outbuilding slash accessory dwelling unit slash unit, driveway, lawn, landscaping. This is similar in the sense it's a pre-existing building built a long time ago. It was built in and around 1900, according to the assessors department. Thank you, Jen. So you can see the property here off of Ridge Hill Road. The existing house is situated towards the front, towards Ridge Hill Road. There's a driveway that extends around the property, comes into that existing building and deck area, that 900 square feet, and then continues around the rest of the property and enters Ridge Hill Road again. What we're here with the commission is because there's a bordering vegetated wetland with an intermittent stream located within the site, kind of the backyard of the site towards the western portion of the site and heads north. The wetland has been delineated. There you can see the wetland flags. The 50 and the 100-foot buffer zone extend from there. The 100-foot buffer zone almost hits the street, so we're fully within the jurisdiction of the commission. We don't have flood zone on this property or other resource areas as riverfront like we had on the last project. So what we're proposing is to remove the existing home and reconstruct a new home, basically within the general footprint of what's existing now, and then adding an addition off the south side of the reconstruction. The addition would contain a porch and deck, 2,870 square feet. The area of work occurs outside the 50-foot buffer zone. There is the change in impervious is approximately 5%. The project doesn't require a stormwater permit per the Scituate stormwater regulations. The project doesn't necessarily trigger mitigation in the sense that we're not working within the 0 to 50-foot buffer zone, but within the lawn area or yard area, as you move towards flags, say A3 to A7, there's an area that the applicant has wood chips, some recent wood chip piles there. Jen and I reviewed this on site, and that the wood chips should be removed. It's not a permitted action. So what we're proposing is that the wood chip piles would be removed and restored as yard area as it pre-existed. I'm proposing a row of shrubs along that wetland line to kind of enhance the conditions of the buffer zone. Uh, as I said, we're not proposing it as necessarily mitigation for the project, but proposing it as more restoration for the wood chip activity. I did get a plan over to Jen. It wasn't a week ahead of time, but it's a simple planting plan as a restoration plan to restore that area. So, with a brief overview, I'll leave it at that and bring it back to the commission.
Okay, thank you. Jen, do you want to comment first?
Yes. So just to make sure we're all looking at the same plan, the one I'm looking at is 1/12/26. I did see an email about the mitigation, but I haven't had a chance to review that or distribute that to the commission. But I did read the comment that it was because of the wood chip. So we did a site visit with Brad back in maybe the end of October. I think I have my notes say October 27th, and there was a pile of wood chips kind of just past that concrete square area next to the driveway, sort of being used to fill that area. So that was obviously a concern. So something should be done to fix that, remove them. Also, there's two trailers on this property that have, I think they've showed up in the last couple years. Back in 2019, there was a septic plan and there was no trailers at that point. And the addition is within the 100. The raised rebuild, but there isn't the house is getting larger, and all of this is within the 100. I guess a couple questions are that there's no proposed change in contours kind of around how that addition goes into the paved driveway. Maybe that's the plan, but I just kind of asked that. So I'm concerned about the mitigation for the wood chips and the trailers that are on this site that are right up against what they have as the wetland line. And other than that, as Brad said, no comments from DEP. We have a butter notifications, and the plan is from January 12th.
Okay. Penny?
I'm with Jen on the trailers. I'd like to see them out of there. I'm fine with the house, even though it's in the 100, but the 100 comes way down to the street. It's out of the 50, which is great. What's that, if you're facing the plan on the left-hand side, CONC, concrete what? Is that,
It's a concrete pad or parking area.
how are
It's
you
existing.
coming in the driveway, the new driveway?
The
Oh,
existing
I see
driveway.
it now,
Yep,
paved
it's
driveway. All
yep.
right, at the street.
It travels through the site.
And what's that gonna be?
That we weren't proposing to change the driveway. Just leave it as is. It's paved and then turns into gravel.
All right, and goes way out back there? Huh, all right.
Yes.
All right, but I want the trailers gone. That's bad. Thank you.
Okay. Roger?
Penny asked the question I was going to ask about what is that CONC? Is that a functioning pad? Do they use it today? Like, what's the purpose of it? If the driveway goes back, if I'm following the plan, it looks like it kind of goes straight back. How do they use that pad?
There is parking on there now. That I believe the last time I was there, there was a boat on in or near that area. So
Okay.
it is used for storage.
And it's existing, okay. All right, no other questions. I think I agree with the trailers and I mean, it's fine. All good.
Okay. Robbie?
Thanks, Frank. Erosion control during construction. How is that being handled? I see the 12-inch silt sock. The front of the site, it looks like it's, I don't know, the site's around 32, 34 in the middle of where the project is, and then the road is much lower. If the silt sock could protect the right of way in the front of the building, I think that would be advantageous. Otherwise, I have no other comments on this.
Okay. Eric?
So yeah, I'm echoing the consensus on the trailers. I think my larger concern with this site is the amount of degradation that this site has experienced over the past 6 years as it relates to the vegetation removal along the intermittent stream. I'm not entirely convinced that based off of the alterations that have happened in the past 6 years that a wetland line as shown could be, approved by the commission tonight. Because it seems like there's been significant alteration. It's impossible for me to be able to tell whether or not there's been fill added where those trailers are. However, when you do look at the site, that was all wooded before the septic system. And then since the septic system work, I believe, has been done, there's also been significant encroachment towards that intermittent stream since that work. So it wasn't just a result of that septic work as it would be indicated on both near map as well as the town access GIS aerial photography. And where those boats have been stored, it's within feet of that intermittent stream, and for the large part, not on that concrete driveway as indicated on the plan here. So I think that mitigation beyond the existing stockpile of wood chips is more than appropriate, in a revegetation of that area that has been disturbed, I don't think is an unreasonable ask, as we do have the ability to review this site in its entirety up to this intermittent stream. So I do have significant concerns as it relates to the driveway, especially on the right-hand side of this plan where the gravel entrance comes down, as it relates to any washout and sedimentation that might be going into that wetland and adjacent intermittent stream. There's really no buffer anymore. There used to be, and I think that draws significant concern to me. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. So Brad, just walk through the intermittent stream. I see there's a culvert on the southeast, right behind that concrete pad.
Yes.
It says a culvert, and then does that turn into like a trenched drainage ditch or something, or is this natural?
It's probably historically ditched. It's still an intermittent stream.
Yeah.
The wetland continues across there's a little driveway that it heads to a neighboring property out back. And then the wetland, pretty sure that the stream, as I remember, flows north, and then the wetland, the bordering vegetated wetland follows the intermittent stream.
So, so that culvert, I see that running in, and it runs towards the rock wall and then comes around the corner of the property, and then it's right behind these trailers. And then that's a gravel driveway on would be the north side of the property that goes
Correct.
towards the trailers.
Yes.
And that doesn't go any further, right? It sort of ends at where those trailers are parked.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's a brush line behind that before you get to the wetland line.
Okay, thank you. And then there's one shed, small shed that's within the buffer.
It's
Within the
actually
wetland.
we've
Wetland.
I've
You said
actually
in the wetland.
yeah, I actually use some soil corings there to locate the wetland line, that A series line. Unfortunately there's wetland grasses and hydric soils between the shed and the yard.
Okay,
It's an old shed.
but it's in the lawn. It's just
It's in the yard. I'll call it yard slash lawn. It's not, that it's not a, a lawn that's got it's a maintained yard lawn, but it's in that area it's wetland lawn. It's a wet
okay.
lawn.
Okay. Um. Well, so that existing building is staying though, right? The 970 square foot building and deck,
Yes,
that's going to remain.
correct.
I guess for the most part, I think the idea of having some erosion control more around the building than just in the back section is it's a good point. And then the trailers, I guess it would be ideal to get those sort of things away from out of that 50. Um, are those storage or any?
Yes, I think they're movable trailers. I'd have to coordinate with the applicant further, but as I remember them, they're storage trailers.
Okay. Um, I don't really have anything else. Anybody want to, Jen, what do you propose here?
Well, I guess I've heard wanting to see more mitigation. We'd want to see that also on the site plan so we can know where that area is. I understand the details are on the planting plan. Um, Often we ask for some sort of demarcation around that area as well. Um, yeah, the trailer's right up against the wetland line, and I don't, there was no permitting for those either. And what else did we mention? The erosion control going around probably whatever is going to be the limit of work. That way we are protecting both the road and the side of the property, making sure people aren't driving over the septic system. What was other comments I heard?
I think those were. Where is the septic system on this now?
It is northeast,
Oh, I see. Approximate
just off the
location.
Ridge
Got
Hill
it.
Road. Yep.
I got it. Okay.
And I mean, that really should be added to the plan also.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to? Do we want to revise plan? Do you want to try to?
Well, yes, I need some, yes, we want to, yes, we want to see all of these things we're talking about on the site plan. Yes.
Okay. Brad, how much time?
The February 23rd meeting would be enough time for us to do that.
Okay.
Do we
Can we
have
do that?
room, Jen?
Let me grab the list. Um, yes, but I'm nervous for anything else.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, Frank,
Yep.
to continue Ridge Hill Road to February 23rd.
Okay, that's a motion from Penny. A second.
A second.
Second from Eric. All in favor, Roger
Yes.
and Robbie,
Yes.
Frank. Yes. Okay. You got
Thank you very
and
much.
you have an idea of what we're looking for.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Fred. So this is 8 Newell Street on January 21st at 6 p.m. Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws for notice of intent filed by Christopher Wynn for the demolition and reconstruction of a single-family dwelling within coastal wetlands resources located at 8 Newell Street, Scituate. Abutters and interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website. And we have somebody from Grady, maybe?
Okay, Jeff DeLisi, I'm unmuting him.
Not
And
again.
I know, I'm back. Sorry.
and then is somebody from Grady here?
Yeah, Darren Grady. You can look
Okay,
for
Darren.
Darren.
All right, I unmuted Darren.
Yeah, and you might want to promote Chris Wynn in to the extent that you ask some questions that he could be responsive to. That way he might be unmuted. Jeff DeLisi, Ornberger, DeLisi, and Harris. I can't remember the composition of the board when the prior projects that involved this property were before it. Those projects were after COVID. Chris and Beth Wynn own the property. The two prior projects that occurred were a dock project and there was a project to remove a pool that I don't really need to get into too much, but both of those projects were issued. One was issued an order of conditions. The other, the removal of the pool, was issued a superseding order of conditions in 2022. And both, to my knowledge, have received certificates of compliance. The superseding order of conditions actually kind of verified the wetland flagging that had previously been done by South River Environmental, which is depicted on your plans that are before you tonight. The Newell Street, it comes in off of Central Avenue, actually runs in both directions, east and west of Central out in Hummerock. This is the westerly side, and it's at the very end of Newell Street. If you were to actually look at this on a Google map or something to that effect, what you'll see is that Newell Street, as you go down it, you'll come into the property and it will cease to exist. But actually, on a plan, a record plan that's recorded at the Registry of Deeds, Newell Street actually goes straight out into the South River. So that the end portion of it, which is somewhere probably in excess of 200 feet in linear distance, is actually a paper street. And I say that because you should be able to see on the plans that were filed, the existing conditions plan depicts the existing dwelling partially located in the layout of Newell Street. There's actually a retaining wall which kind of prevents people from utilizing Newell Street to access the river. This plan that's before you now is a raise and reconstruct project. So right now, the existing dwelling is well, it's a pre-existing non-conforming dwelling from a zoning standpoint, but it's also non-compliant with FEMA. It's below, the first floor is below the base flood elevation, technically a hazard in the flood zone. So the concept here is to raise the existing house and reconstruct a house that by and large is in the existing footprint of the existing home, such that the reconstructed dwelling would be no closer to the river, for instance, than what it is now. Yet the dwelling is moved into the property lines entirely. So from a zoning perspective, it's a good thing. And actually, a few months back, the ZBA voted to approve a special permit to reconstruct it in the flood zone, the zoning flood zone, and a finding to reconstruct it as a non-conforming structure. So we have a zoning permit. So the concept here is to raise and reconstruct the house, as I've indicated. And then also, there are two additional, looking on the left side of the plan, there are two additional non accessory buildings. One is entitled a cabana, and another is entitled an existing building on the plan. The concept would be to remove the quote existing building and then move the existing cabana building to that location. So the net is the buildings that would be reconstructed would all be above the base flood elevation in compliance with the building code, etc., FEMA. There will be less decking than exists now. There'll be one less building than exists now. So we're improving it from a flooding standpoint, and we're getting no closer to the river resource. That's in a nutshell the project. And it actually is a net reduction in impervious coverage by approximately 176 square feet over what's there now. So with that, Darren Grady's here if you have any specific questions about the plan, and I give it up to you.
Can I add a couple things?
Yeah, that's Darren.
Yeah. So the increase in setback from the wetland goes from an existing setback of 3.1 feet to 8.5 feet. DEP did review this, and they did issue a file number. And the project raising up on piles is actually improving the dune function within this area. There'd be more sand surface on the site. As far as construction erosion controls, in red there's a silt sock that's proposed to be used to maintain the construction area within its limits. And that is it. If you have any questions.
The one thing I wanted to add is the I asked Grady Consulting to put some colors on the plan so you could see things a little better. But you see the area that's in tan, that it's in the approximate location of the hot tub, and it says retained deck. That tan area and the smaller tan area adjacent to the new location or new proposed location of the cabana building would both be maintained. We're not proposing any work to them. So in the area that is gray that connects those two tan areas is actually a deck, which is proposed to be removed as part of the project, and that's a location where we pick up some of that impervious coverage and make it pervious. So I just wanted to indicate those two things as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Darren. Jen?
Yes, so we've mentioned some of the resource areas. It's in Hummerock, so it's Barrier Beach, it's in buffered salt marsh, it's land subject to coastal storm flowage, and it is riverfront. Um, Good to see going up on piles, no footings. Um, yes, the other orders have been closed out. Um, I do want to say, so my concerns would be any proposed enclosures underneath of the house. It should be open underneath is typically how we condition things in these resource areas. So that was one piece, and we had a couple. We had some information we wanted to just have confirmed as far as meeting all the riverfront standards. I think the comment was it does, but we were looking for those numbers. And on the plan, it mentions that it's in the priority habitat area, but I believe that it is not. The comments say that it's not. So we just would want to make sure that was consistent everywhere. But my bigger concern is making sure that it is open underneath of the house. And not
There'd
not
be
an
no
enclosed
enclosures.
area, right?
So I believe that the project location is not in a wildlife habitat area, but other aspects or areas of the property might be. Darren, you might be able to speak to that. And then in addition, Darren can explain to you what the proposal was with respect to underneath or enclosures of the reconstructed dwelling. But to give you cliff notes on that, um, the proposal, as I understand it, is that the westerly side of the building, which is the covered porch, and the southerly side of the building, which is faces the cabana area, would be completely uncovered, and that the front of the building, which is the easterly side, where cars would enter the site from, that is proposed to have garage doors. And then the final side of the building, which is the Newell Street side, is proposed to have not a lattice, but some kind of PVC slatting that is like a quarter inch spaced, but doesn't go all the way down to the ground, to my understanding. Why it's that way, I don't know. But Darren, if I've misstated, would you please let me know?
And
I have the same understanding that there'd be garage doors on one side, there'd be some slats on one side, and then there'd be two sides open.
Folks, this is Chris Wynn. Maybe I can help clarify a little. So the elevation of the house, we have it at the finished floor level of 19, top of pile 17 for the majority of the property. But from an entry level, we're going, I believe the minimum floor height is 15 or 15.1, and we're at 15.5. So around the northern side, the thought was to have the visual aesthetic of the house to carry the water table of the lowest elevation around, so it's consistent on all sides. But that also provides, so that would be at elevation, the bottom of that would be at elevation 14 and a half, or somewhere in that vicinity. And then below that to the ground would be 1x4 PVC boards with a 3/4 inch spacing. Not, I think Jeff, you misspoke in that one. So the goal that with no horizontal barrier at grade, So we would, the last horizontal thing would be like a foot above, just, so they could be on there stable enough and not break off. But for sand and water flow migration would have, that, the material number of gaps all the way along it so that, the dune could migrate, sand could migrate, whatever is necessary there. But we wanted to bring the wall partially down for both for aesthetics, but also so that we can have some dry storage underneath the property elevated up, 4+ feet off the ground.
So to clarify, the base flood elevation there is 13, and the bottom of the skirting he was talking about, the water board, was elevation 14, so it was a foot above the base flood elevation.
Okay.
Thanks, Darren.
So let's see, where do we go? Jen, you've got comment, right?
Yeah, I just also, because I feel like there's a lot of projects being heard tonight. With the plan is from January 14th, 2026. That's the version of the site plan I'm looking at. And then there was some architecturals as well that show the garage doors and area underneath the house.
Okay. So I know I've been out to the site. Penny, I think you have, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't know if anybody else has been to the site. So Penny, why don't you go first?
Okay, well, one good thing is if I'm right, Newell Street at that point is like just a passageway is supposed to be there for the neighbors to get out to the river. Yes? Nobody's going to answer that.
Chris,
Okay.
Penny, if I could help answer that. So in connection with the order of conditions with the dock project,
Right.
we eliminated the wall to my property line, the pre-existing wall, right to the property line there, and then cleared up all of the invasive and, all of the junk and
so
made.
Chris, is that the retaining wall that's actually showing on the plan right now? Is that
No.
has
Well, yeah, so you see the little loop from Newell Street that goes from just past my property to the north. So it has a little left hook if you're coming from where it says 66.5.
yeah, where the
Yeah.
T in Newell
Yeah. So
Street
so
is.
the
Yeah.
that portion of Newell Street is paved, is asphalt,
Yeah.
and that wall, the asphalt goes right up to that wall. What we did in connection with the prior project is we ended that wall right at our property line, where I didn't view I had the authority or ability to go change anything that wasn't my property line. And then we made the path so there's a right of way. And on the recorded deed, the right of way does show that it's coming through the corner of our property, and then going right along, tight to the existing structure. So this right of way will now become larger, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then we vegetated quite materially with Rosa rugosa and seagrass, whatever they're called. Subsequently over each of the 4 planting seasons for it, and have been so kind of one side of it is fully vegetated, going down there, but we made it so there's a clear path. So there's a right of way as it exists today, and
Uh-huh.
that right of way, my math, I'm guesstimating 10 feet. That right of way will increase by approximately 10 feet the full length of the house.
Okay, that's good though. I just want to make sure that stays there with this, the new house and everything, because I know there was some controversial back years ago when we were down there. Um, so the house is up on pilings, the cabana is on pilings, and
Yeah,
the deck.
and I'm sorry to interrupt, Petty. So one thing to note is the existing cabana and the existing building both
Yeah,
have concrete block foundations as they exist today.
right. Yeah,
So the removal of those will be removing that concrete block foundation, and then the raise and rebuild of the house is going to be removing all of the existing concrete piers of the existing house. But there's also what I believe to be a legacy septic system um, in underneath the house that probably circa 1950 or something like that, um,
right.
that got abandoned. That will also be cleared up when right now it's 8 inches from the bottom of the house. So once the site is 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 open enough, then there'll be a way to get to that and clear that.
Okay, that's very, very good. I like it's coming up. The only question I do have is that have been asking for from the sand up before, if you insist on putting the skirting on, that it's not 1 foot but 2 feet. So anything can pass easily through there. So that's something to consider, Chris. All right.
Would it be possible to have it come? You just mean the horizontal or the boards themselves not to reach the sand?
Jen could better tell you.
She wants a complete space of 2 feet above the grade on that side of the building that you're proposing the skirting or board or whatever it is, right, Penny?
Yes, because that's what we've been asking
Okay, understood.
in Scituate proper.
And it's not, and we've been down this road, is there are construction standards and building standards that allow something different, and it's not a requirement, but it's an ask of the commission, right?
Yeah, but it's a very strong ask, okay?
I mean, it
That we
is still
want to
in
be
Dune,
sure
just to
that
remind
when
everybody.
there's a storm, okay, that everything can flow easily underneath and not take your slats with it. Because that's the last thing we want on the beach or in the river are these slats. So we're trying to get everybody to, if they insist on having them, to get them up high enough to make sure anything can pass through. Okay? It's something to think about before you come back in. But other than that, all looks good to me at the moment. Thank you.
Chris, so your water board at that point would be elevation 15, 2 feet above the base flood elevation 13.
Darren, is your point that it's not likely to flood in that area because of the topography of the land in that area? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just wanted Chris to realize that he was proposing elevation 14 is just coming up to elevation 15.
Okay.
So it's just a foot higher.
Okay. Let's see. Eric?
Yeah, lots going on this site. I think first and foremost, just recognizing that we are in Dune and we do have to adhere to no adverse impact, and it is the burden of the applicant to prove that there is no adverse impact, and having all of the building designed to meet performance standards for Dune. Just stating that is just a matter of course. Also, because we are in riverfront, we do want to see, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see the existing percent degraded area on this plan and I didn't happen to see it in the notice of intent. It just sort of glosses over that. So I definitely want to see percent of degraded area as it currently exists, and what that difference is as it relates to the proposed work. I certainly am also not comfortable conditioning garage doors in this area either. I am looking at the cabana, and I don't see an elevation on that structure. Lowest horizontal structural member, being an AE 13, needs to be at least 16. And that 16-foot elevation for lowest horizontal structural member, sure as you know, needs to be throughout the site. I'm also looking, and I don't happen to notice proposed mitigation, but again, I could be wrong. So I'd be happy to be corrected on that.
Eric, can I jump in on you for a second?
Sure thing.
Thank you so much. The elevation 16 on the cabana, I'm just trying to understand, is that a new building code requirement, Eric?
As far as I'm aware, the 3-foot is part of the 10th edition.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. Darren, didn't you have a different opinion on that? Didn't you look into this at the request of Jen, or?
Yeah, our opinion is that it's got to be, the first floor has to be 2 feet above base flood elevation in the AE zone, and it has to do with, we're in like a building district 2 or underneath the rules. I think we provided all that information. If they need to, if they would like to
but
look
we
at it.
need to look at, and I don't want to waste anyone's time, but we need to look at the 10th edition just to make sure.
And I'm sorry, the plan I was looking at didn't have the elevations listed on the cabana. So that's where that comment really was generated from. But regardless, I think it would be worth looking at that 10th edition.
Are you looking at the most recent plan? Because I think that those elevations were added with the plan set that was sent in to Jen on the 14th.
Yeah, I just updated it. That was my bad. I was showing an older plan.
Okay. Yeah, so Eric, the elevations are on it, but your comments are noted, and we'll take a look at those other issues.
Yeah. Jen, what were you saying?
I was saying that this plan needed to be opened, so that's good.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll add about how in these resource areas we don't want to see enclosures below the lowest horizontal structure. I think the wording is enclosures are not permitted below the lowest horizontal structure member of the lowest floor. So when I hear about different types of panels and garage doors, something we don't normally.
I guess what I'm grappling with is the word enclosure. I guess with a structure that we're only proposing something on 2 of the 4 sides, and then on one of those other 2 sides, we're proposing it to not be enclosed, to stop before the grade. What is your idea of enclosure? Are you saying any side, or are you saying isn't an enclosure like all 4 sides? I'm trying to understand. I'm not being sarcastic or trying to be sarcastic. I'm just trying to understand about enclosure.
That's just how I am reading what I'm told about when areas are in these resource areas, that enclosed areas below design flood elevation. Enclosures are not permitted below the lowest horizontal structure member of the lowest floor.
Okay, we'll look into that. Thank you for the clarification.
And from my perspective, the garage doors present a barrier to floodwater diversion of potential increase of storm damage and pollution. So that's where my opposition to the garage doors are, especially as we said, we're in dune. And any floodwaters need to be able to pass through and allow the free flow of sediment in that area, whereas a garage door certainly would not, regardless of whether or not there's two open sides. Any structure that can prevent or divert or increase storm damage and pollution is where my concerns sort of lay on that. I think that's all I have for the moment, but I do want to just re-emphasize the percent degraded on site as it currently exists, percent degraded proposed, and then I do want to see what those numbers look like as it relates to mitigation that's associated with that degradation, and whether that's a 2-to-1 ratio or how that all lines up. So that math certainly needs to be presented on this plan, given the area that we're in.
Sure, Eric. We'll work with Grady on that, but just wanted to add, virtually the whole site was degraded prior to the last project. We did a material restoration from the southeasterly side all the way to the northwesterly corner, as well as the abutment to Newell Street. So we removed thousands of tons of degraded concrete wall, vegetated it with 7 tractor trailers full of sand, and planted thousands of dollars worth of vegetation throughout the perimeter of the property. So the proposed work we were doing is in an area where the intent is to come in from the stone driveway and limit the amount of, we won't be going any closer to the river, of course, and to limit the area where the work is done. So from a mitigation standpoint, we've already, we exceeded what was required in the prior orders of conditions. And the other,
It's for a different project, though, and what I'm talking about is what's coming before us tonight. So I do still want to see that percent degraded area for the site as it currently exists, and the percent degraded area as you were proposing. And then based off of what that calculation is, there still is associated mitigation work based off of this project, not anything that happened before.
Yeah, it's striking me that there might be an opportunity to have some mitigation in the area adjacent to the proposed building, where the existing building is located within the layout of Newell Street. So we'll look into that issue, Eric.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to point it out just as it relates to this specific project, and happy to, see what you guys have,
So do you agree that the degraded areas, the areas lacking topsoil?
Let's see. I think that it would be anything that's, I don't have the definition in front of me, so I'm not going to agree or disagree to something right now.
Okay.
I can cut in if you'd like. By 10.585, which is what they're going through, Mr. Grady is correct. It'd be areas lacking existing topsoil. And there's a few other criteria as well, but it's in the same location that Mr. Grady's currently looking at, I'm assuming so.
Well, whatever that is, I still would like to see that information on the plan.
Okay.
I guess
so what I'm
that's
getting
my
at
bottom
is,
line.
so what I'm getting at is that creating dune function kind of is counterintuitive versus the degraded areas, because you don't want to have topsoil there. You want to have that sand and the shifting sand. And the project itself, it really promotes that by putting it up on piles and allowing that sand to move. So we're getting rid of, I almost think that should be considered mitigation for the building, because we're moving it up. The area where the foundation is, that's all degraded. So we can start putting numbers together, but I think you're gonna find that there's a lot of sand here and the whole site's degraded.
I mean, for this site, I would argue that the topsoil is sand because we are in dune. So I don't know. I struggle with the resistance on just sort of working with us and trying to figure out this because it is riverfront. So like we do still have to abide by all resource areas that are involved in this project. And I just want to make sure that we're not, changing thresholds, illegally here. I just want to make sure that everything's above board and we're all doing things the way that we're supposed to.
Yeah,
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and Eric, we're more than happy to add, mitigation and whatever calculations. My questions were trying to understand what we're calculating, and how we're calculating, as opposed to there's no resistance to a calculation nor doing any mitigation. It's just trying to figure out what the math and what the response is. That's all.
Yeah, understood.
Josh, what was that citation again? It was 10.8, 10 point what?
Yeah, so we're doing a redevelopment of a riverfront area, so that'd be 10.585, and that kind of goes through. And you're probably already super familiar with it, since we've done this quite a bit. But I think there's a blurb, and I'm like don't have a picturesque memory, but I think there's a paragraph above the performance standards which describes what degradation is. And one of the leading examples is one, impervious surfaces; two, areas that lack topsoil or historic dumping areas. Um, I think there might be a little bit more, but that's kind of where you would pull that from. If it's not there, then it would be in the 10.4 area for definitions.
Thank you.
I looked at it 10.58, Josh,
Yeah.
before the meeting, and that's kind of where I saw it.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're on the similar
Correct.
page.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you guys sort of working through that with us.
You're
Thank
welcome.
Robbie?
See
Roger,
him?
you want to jump
I'll
in?
make it easy for you, Frank. I got no questions. I think Penny and Eric brought up some good ones. Glad to see that it's getting raised. They're gonna remove the concrete foundation, so I think it's improving the property.
Okay, thank you. It looks like maybe Robbie needs to be readmitted.
Yep. And then if we can make him a co-host, that'd be great.
Yep.
And it sounds like, well, it depending on where this goes, I can share some of the previous information about seagrass and plantings that have gone in on this site. With the commission, just so they have some of that information also.
Yeah, I think we called it a dune enhancement plan, and I want to say it was oh, Chris, who did that?
Yeah, as South River
Yes,
plan.
yes. They did a really, really excellent job. So that'd be great if you could share that, Jen. Thank you.
Okay.
Did Robbie get in?
I am back. Sorry about that.
No. Any thoughts, questions?
The only question I had was, what is the material proposed under the house, the elevated new house? Is there the surface material?
It will be gravel consistent with the driveway, which I believe is like 3/4 inch, like tumbled stone,
Okay.
like tumbled granite stone or river rock or whatever they call it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience for this one? Okay, I don't see anything. So I think it would be really helpful between Jeff, Mr. Wynn, maybe Jen can put that together, but to show the commission members that aren't familiar with this site, how much was um, restored here. That was a pretty degraded site when we were out there with a lot of deteriorated decks and buildings. And, the applicant did a dock and some other work. And we had lots of discussion about how to get some of that done. And I think that they did work hard to definitely improve the site. So I think it would be good for folks to see that. A couple of quick questions. What I'm not seeing on this plan is how the vehicles are going to access under the house. Is there a driveway proposed? Right, I see the proposed construction entrance, and then I'm looking at the steps, and I have a plan that shows the garage doors that we've discussed, but I'm not really seeing if there's a proposed driveway.
So yeah, so the if you going back to that wall that we were referencing before,
Mhm.
um, the the stone driveway goes a little bit past. If you take the property line and then start to work your way southward, the the gravel driveway kind of meanders over somewhat about 5 or 10 feet from where this proposed covered porch, the stairs are. There's
Mhm.
an existing ramp there, which is also going to come out. Um, so the plan was to just continue the gravel, just straight ahead from right where the construction entrance is, 90 degrees right there to that area, and straight to the garage.
Darren, can you show that on the plan when we file a new plan?
Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
I think that would be helpful to just show. I mean, I'm kind of remembering the site, and I remember a hill and the walkway to the river and the buildings being on there. I think it's great that you're removing those. And to answer to Eric's point and to yours, maybe that's a good spot to do a little revegetation, and show us what the plan is for the driveway. And then I think you've heard the concerns about commission members with regard to skirting and whatnot. So give that some consideration. Um, so I think we've kind of mapped out everything here for this evening.
Does seem we have a raised hand.
Yes.
Okay.
I can unmute Vincent Paquette.
Yes, sir. Yes, the property to the
Can you
east.
just give us
Oh,
your name and address, please?
yes, Vincent Paquette, 14 Newell,
Thank
property
you.
to the east. This is the perfect time to reestablish Newell Street as at my level where I am. We get the storm surge coming down the street from the ocean, and it has no way to escape. So it all ends up in my backyard, coming up to the threshold levels. And this would be the great time to take care of the bad elevation of Newell Street, reestablish it, so it can then allow storm surge to go into the river.
Hmm. Okay. The applicant, anybody want to speak to that?
Yeah, hi Vince.
Hey.
If I can ask the commission a question in helping to answer Vince's question, um, the is the project is it within the purview of the application or the power of the committee to allow us to do anything to put a pipe or regrading or something that's on Newell Street that goes down along there? I mean, I'd be happy to do it. The only I'd have to go back and double check the site. There is one tree that could potentially be a casualty. It's not a native species. But the abutting property is at a higher, has a retaining wall and sand at a higher elevation, but as it gets closer to my house, it's graded down, more close to my average elevation. Vince is at a lower elevation, so I understand obviously his thoughts and question there. So for me to rephrase here, is it something that could be put into the plan for me to put some form of a pipe from the corner of my property that runs down that allows for such drainage since we'll have equipment there? I'm happy to do it. I just don't know what you know, I obviously don't want to do something that exceeds what I'm allowed to do either.
So my recollection when you came in and what Newell Street is that there's that retaining wall, and then there's a decent mound of sand that goes up and then back down towards the river, if I recall.
Yeah, fairly frank. So on as you move more north, it's higher. As you go closer to my property, it's lower because as part of the prior project, we graded it to the river, so we made it passable as per the prior requirements. So it still goes up a little bit. I don't know what I'd have to have someone to, I don't know the implications to the abutting property if we brought it down to grade, but I'm sure we could come up with something where we put a storm drain, culvert, pipe, whatever you want to call it, you know, on, the corner of Newell or someone down there where the grade would allow that to flow and and connect and do the drainage that Vince is inquiring about.
Well, I guess you could talk with your engineers, but I guess I'm would be concerned about when I look at this, I'm looking at grade at Newell Street at about 8 feet, and then I'm looking at the top of that mound at about 12 feet. So that rises up 4 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you're correct, but I guess the point is if you look where if you look at the lightly shaded area where my existing house extended to, so it's 8 or something over the line. If you were to look at the sight line from the south the northwest corner, the riverside, and look straight down Newell Street, that grade is not that material right there, as it's like where I'm going to be removing the existing house. So if it's close to my property, it seems to me as a non-construction, site construction person, that it's reasonably viable. The closer we go to the middle, or the closer we go to the abutting property to the north, the more difficult it would be, and the more it might cause other items.
Well, I guess to, the question came up about changing the topography or whatever to eliminate like a storm surge. So you're talking about water that's coming from the ocean, comes down Newell Street, and then it can't continue down Newell Street because of this mound that I don't know if that's man-made or if it was always it's natural or whatever, but that mound essentially pushes the water either towards your neighbor or now the way that you're constructing your house, it's going to do the same. The water's going to go around that mound in probably both directions. Um,
so on, and I've only owned the property since 2019, so Vince could probably add more color. The with with I'm at a higher elevation than the Vince's property. So there's certainly going to be some gravitational, water flowing back that way regardless. But the Langone property, which is abutting us, is higher than mine. So we're just slightly uphill and then going right downhill on that side. So there seems like there could be some, and it's going to be a disturbed area already. So it seems like there could be something that we'd be um, willing and happy to accommodate. I just don't know how further to ask, describe, discuss, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Chris.
don't know that we want to get into that. I mean, if the engineers, you guys want to, and applicant want to talk about what you might or might not do, but it's already 8:30. So I understand the concern. I just, looking at something that's been existing there, so not quite sure how that would.
We probably would have the right to do it from the midpoint of the road towards our house under something that's called the derelict fee statute, which gives us ownership rights to the midpoint of the road. We'll look into whether Darren thinks that it could be alleviated with some easy measures. And we'll, if he thinks that, we'll propose them at the next meeting. And if he doesn't, we'll let you know. And but I think that given the fact that we're working in this area anyway, because there's a house there, we probably could put a pipe in that location also.
All right. Well, give that some thought.
Thank you.
But I'd like to thank you. Anybody else?
Sorry, before you go, just that protective pink line that goes around the house should extend across, protecting the property to the east as well. Yeah, right here.
Okay, the erosion control can carry it further up a little bit.
Yeah, right across
we can do that.
from south to north. Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem, Vince.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. How much time do you need? What do we have time for?
I have to defer to Darren on that. Your next meeting is in a week and a half. That's not going to happen.
No.
So,
The next meeting we can do.
Sounds to me like you're pretty full on the 23rd. So
Yeah.
why don't we suggest a meeting after that?
Jen?
Which at the moment is March 16th. I know
March
that's far away.
16th?
Yeah.
Chris, how does that factor in? Would you prefer to try to cram it into February or?
If everyone's open to that, I think we can certainly be ready.
Do we have a March 2nd meeting? Is that full?
We do. I think we were hoping to be in person for that one, so that kind of I don't know if that's still the plan, but that's something we had kind of talked about. Sort of see how that went.
Okay. Well, what do you think? Do we want to try for the 23rd for this, or?
Are we
get the plans
booked,
done.
Jen?
Well, I mean, we can put it on for March 2nd. I don't want to put a lot of hearings on for March 2nd.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Is that your other Hummerock project that you guys are meeting in person on?
Nope, that's February 2nd.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right,
I defer to you guys.
Chris or Darren?
The 2nd or the 16th, people?
The 2nd, please.
Okay. I make a motion, we continue 8 Newell Street to March 2nd.
Okay, that's Penny. The second.
I'll second that.
That's Robbie. All in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. 0 Bossy Lane, this has been continued.
Yes, we have Greg Morse here, and we received comments from the peer reviewer from Lucas Environmental. She is here as well, but I think Greg might have a couple comments to make first.
Okay.
Sure. Good evening. Greg Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the property owner, Bossy Lane Realty Trust. This is the third continued hearing. This was a notice of intent for a new single-family home on Bossy Lane. Since the last meeting, we've made no plan changes. We were awaiting peer review response. We received the peer review response from Lucas Environmental last Wednesday, and as last Wednesday was the submittal deadline to submit revised materials, we didn't submit anything further. That review letter, I believe, is going to say that we've addressed most of their comments, that there are no plan changes necessary. We did, however, want to incorporate two comments from the commission into the wetland replication plan that had been submitted, and we plan on submitting those revisions immediately after this meeting tonight. Those are going to be that the meadow area, only a third of the meadow would be mowed in any calendar year. Secondly, that we would leave on the meadow area any composting or mowing clippings in place. And lastly, we were going to more clearly identify the seed mixes in the restoration area, in the replication area. Again, all of those changes in the written narratives that were provided by Brad Holmes. Brad is on the call with us tonight if there's any questions on this project, but I don't think you're going to hear from Lucas that any further plan revisions are necessary. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Jen?
I have Devin here if we have any questions for her.
Okay, Devin?
Hi, commissioners. Can you hear me okay?
I got you.
Great. It's nice to see you all this evening. So, yeah, as the representative, as Greg said from Morse Engineering, it seems like they wrapped up most of the comments that we had in our initial comment letter. There were some remaining outstanding questions that we just had. I'd like to go over those briefly. So for the tree removal, we noted that there are going to be approximately 10 trees within the limit of construction that require, and we were just wondering or requiring some clarification on how many trees are expected to be removed. Per Brad's plan, it looks like there will be 9 trees planted in total within the replication and mitigation area, which include black tupelo, red maple, swamp white oak. I was hoping to talk to either Brad or Greg or just gauge the commission's opinion. I think squeezing all of those trees in the replication area will be extremely tight. I'd like to see some of those kind of spread out, either in the area along Bossy or just in that general area. I just don't want to choke anything out, especially with the other shrubs that are going to be planted. We were talking about, we noted that there is a demarcation of those mitigation areas. So we wanted to bring light to the commission that we would like to see that demarcated in perpetuity with either conservation area cedar posts as detailed on the plans or whatever the commission feels comfortable with of that specific 4,400 square foot mitigation area, which will be now wet meadow. I did just want to bring 2 discussion points to the commission. So kind of dovetailing off of what I've already said. So the addition of trees along Bossy Lane to further mitigate for any trees that are going to be removed. And then specific requirements regarding pruning of the meadow area. It seems like Greg Morris just noted that there'll be an annual mow. I think timing is kind of key when it comes to that. So late fall would be best to benefit pollinators and birds. Obviously, if they want to do early spring before May 15th, right as growth, new growth starts, would be best. And I would just say avoid mowing during peak nesting or blooming seasons. So, lastly, I just kind of wanted to make note on the record that one of the perpetual conditions we suggested to the commission would be that the new wet meadow area, the 4,400 square foot meadow area, will not be touched or disturbed again other than that maintenance mow, preventing it from being converted back to lawn in perpetuity. So I can touch base a little bit on that if the commission would like, but that's kind of what we wanted to present to you as our outstanding items.
Frank, you might be muted.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jen, do you want to add anything else?
Well, I do want to make sure that we're talking about the plan from December 11th, 2025. And if we can zoom in a bit, just so everybody can see it, there's a replication area because of the wetland crossing, and then almost that entire lawn in front will be mitigation that we were talking about. And there also you can see some of the information regarding the culvert for the part of the crossing. I think what I was hoping for tonight was to get any feedback for any potential conditions if we were thinking of that, or just any other details we would want to have included, so Morse Engineering could include all of that on their formal response.
We have no problem incorporating those comments, adding some additional conservation posts out front, moving some trees into the mitigation meadow area, and then specifying mowing in the late fall. We can do that all in that narrative revision.
Okay. Jump to members. Penny?
No, I'm very happy with what they're doing. Thank you.
Eric?
Appreciate all of the changes that the applicant has been willing to consider and execute. Not to nitpick, but just on that mow rather than fall, spring, just to protect any overwintering insects that might be existing within that that stand of vegetation. So, as Devin said, ahead of the 15th of May, just to protect everything moving forward. So that would be my only clarification on that. Otherwise, I support the delineation and condition for the meadow in perpetuity. But that's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Roger?
No comments or questions. I think everything was addressed.
Okay. Robbie?
Thanks, Frank. Just one question in terms of construction sequencing. Is the culvert going to be installed early such that it is used for access for the site, or?
Yes, it would.
So basically the driveway will be constructed maybe to a gravel course and then finished at the end of the project?
Correct. You'd install basically the base coat of gravel for the driveway. You'd get up to that replication, that stream crossing area, and you'd construct that culvert across before any work on the house project begins.
Okay. And then is that a retaining wall on either side?
It's not it's a boulder wall on either side. It's approximately 18 inches in height. Stacked boulders on either side.
Okay. So all that will be constructed first, and then the house, and then the structure, residential structure.
Correct.
Thank you. No other questions.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience?
Don't see any hands raised.
Okay. I like the clarification on the mowing and all that, and I the timing I would agree is like late winter, early spring. I think is that what we kind of settled on?
Fine.
Yes.
Okay. Devin, maybe you can, or Brad's on. Is there any reason that some of those trees can't be planted within the wetland strip that we can't? Is there anything that would prohibit us from doing that?
You mean, I might defer to Brad here, but do you mean like within the wetland, or what do you
Yeah,
mean by the wetland strip?
in the wetland. Yeah, within the wetland itself. We talk about this. Looks like there's a fairly good sized area that has no trees. Would it be a negative impact or a positive impact to allow them to put some of the trees? Where there's verbiage that says the concrete bottomless box, or on the other side of that.
I mean, I've definitely prescribed and reviewed projects that more or less enhance wetlands, and that means that you would encroach into the wetland by planting. That's usually, favorable, especially in an area that doesn't have a tree canopy and you wanted to put some trees in there. But I would defer to Brad and his, what he wants to see out there, and then more or less give an opinion to that.
Okay.
Sure, I can jump in quick. The number of trees and shrubs is calculated for the replication area to vegetate that area of replication. The 8 trees would adequately fill in the proposed replication area. Could they be, moved into spread out a little bit more? Sure. But based on the DEP's guidance for replication and plant spacing, that's where the number of trees and the number of shrubs comes from.
Okay.
And so just for clarification, if you don't mind, so you're proposing 9 trees in the replication area itself. Are you mitigating for the loss of the approximate 10 trees that are going to be taken down for the house in the back?
The wetland replication is been prepared for the crossing and
Yeah.
the plant species for the numbers for wetland alteration. We haven't added plantings, because of as far as trees removed in the buffer zone. The mitigation, of the lawn area certainly would account for that, but we haven't added trees into the design.
Okay.
So are we thinking that there should be more trees, or are we okay with the number that we have? I'm not quite sure.
I'll defer to the commission and what they'd like to see. My recommendation here we spoke on site with Brad, and I believe Penny and Jen were there. And I thought that there was going to be some trees put up against Bossy Lane to mitigate for those that are going to be lost for the single family house it being constructed in the back. I understand that there's replacement ratios for the replication itself, and then those are spec'd out based on square footage, which is obviously standard practice. And then you're restoring that lawn as mitigation too. I just didn't know what was going on based on our verbal correspondence at the site visit.
Okay. Well, I don't have a strong preference on where the trees go, but I'd like to see some trees planted to replace the trees that are being removed for the house and driveway. If Brad, you suggesting that this restoration meadow is the mitigation for that sort of thing, or there should be?
I believe it is, but we could certainly add a row of trees along Bossy Lane. I can coordinate with Greg on that.
Yeah, I think either there or some more in that wetlands area if it doesn't have a good crown cover wherever they seem like they'd be most beneficial environmentally.
Sure.
Okay. So do we want to continue this? Do we want to close this with those pieces to get resolved? Jen, what's your preference?
Well, from what I'm hearing, it's notes and details that we're looking for.
Yep.
So we can close knowing that yeah, I guess requesting that some additional details be sent about the mowing. And I mean, I guess where I'm going with all of this is we would be ready at the next meeting on February 2nd to issue. So if you want to just wait to the next meeting to have everything, but we really don't have much to discuss other than just allowing there to be time to get everything.
All right, well then let's do that. Let's get the revisions in, and we can that way we can close an issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I need a motion
To win.
February 2nd. I mean, because I think we'll get all this week. Is
Yeah.
kind of what I was hearing.
Okay. I make a motion to continue Bossy Lane to February 2nd.
That's a motion from Penny. A second.
A second.
I'll second.
I think that was Robbie. All in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Roger?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steven.
Thank you.
Brad.
6
6, Rebecca.
And yes, okay. We have Greg here for this one. 6 Rebecca received an order of conditions. They had an amendment request, which I think Greg can explain.
Do I have to read that one? Oh yeah.
Yes, you do. I'm sorry.
On January 21st at 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing on Chapter 131, Section 4 of the Mass General Rule to amend the order of conditions issued under DEP file number 068-3115 as requested by Kristen Mooney to add a skirt to a dwelling located at 6 Rebecca Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting is available on the agenda posted on the website.
Thank you. Again, for the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing Kristen Mooney. This is a request to amend an order of conditions. This project was previously before the commission in 2003-ish for raise and rebuild of a single-family home at 6 Rebecca Road. That project has been substantially completed at this point. The house is up. It's on a timber pile foundation. This project is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's not a velocity zone, nor is it on a barrier beach, but it is within a FEMA flood zone and AE at elevation 15. The conditions in the original approval were that no skirting were to be placed around the house. Several of the abutting houses and many of the houses out along Rebecca Road and Lighthouse Road have skirting around them. This house, being elevated above floodplain, has approximately 8 feet of space below the house. Our proposal is what's shown here. The architect Julie Johnson put this rendering together to depict skirting around the perimeter of that pile foundation. Skirting is allowed in a FEMA flood zone, especially in an AE zone where it's not an overwash zone nor a velocity zone. This would have FEMA compliant spacing between the slats or the skirts itself. And it was proposed that we keep the skirting 12 inches minimum off the ground surface. In addition to the skirting request, we had a second request, and that is underneath the proposed home is just dirt. Our original plans didn't specify what would happen with that dirt underneath the site, but we're requesting permission to put either crushed stone or crushed shells on that surface. That's the amendment request, the skirting and the covering of the dirt under the foundation.
Frank, you're muted.
I am muted. Sorry. Jen?
So yes, it's in a flood area. It's not in a velocity. It's also outside the Limwa. I do think this area is, considered dune. It's kind of near that corner of Lighthouse Road in Rebecca. Yes, we had specifically in the orders about no enclosure underneath. I think as far as the surface underneath, I believe that is what we've conditioned and allowed on other sites. I'm not sure what you want to do with the lattice.
Okay. Start with Eric.
So yes, I am amenable to the substrate being either or of what Greg proposed. I think if I had a preference, it would probably be the seashells. In terms of the skirting, since being on the commission, I have not been very supportive of skirting. I appreciate the applicant coming to us rather than just going ahead and doing it. So that does say something and does mean something. So I do want to just acknowledge appreciation for that. I think I just still land on just flood damage prevention or storm damage prevention and potential pollution as a result of that damage. I appreciate the 12-inch. If we could go higher, I think I would appreciate it maybe a little bit more. But that's where I'll leave my comments for now.
Okay. Penny.
I'm with Eric on the shells underneath, and I'd like to see the skirting 2 feet up, but that's my preference.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roger.
I think the only thing that I will comment on is the skirting. I understand folks' perspective on it. I think, they're proposing 12. Penny's looking for 24. I guess I'm looking for what is the standard that we would want to stick to and enforce, just so that we can be consistent. But I don't have a lot of heartburn when it comes to, as long as it's, north of that 12. I think it's fine, but I think it gives us an opportunity to think about what we want to do as a standard to make these conversations quicker, easier, and so forth. Because I hear you, Eric, on some folks aren't fans of it. I just think if we get to a point where we come to a understanding, it's going to be easier to set that expectation and tone for other folks that come to this group. But I have no concerns with either of these recommendations. I would agree. Let's go with I'll side with the seashells with my other committee members.
Okay. And Robbie.
Thanks, Frank. In terms of the material underneath the house, my preference would be stone. I don't mind the shell, but I think a stone with a diameter or sufficient enough to keep it from being overly mobile in the event of encountering stormwater, but it's not critical to me. The skirting, I think, I don't mind it. I think we told the last applicant 24 inches. So, I think we need to be consistent, like Roger was mentioning. So understanding what that height wants to be, I guess, town-wide is important. But I think I'm okay with 12 inches. I think 24 inches to me is aesthetically unattractive. But that's just my preference. So
Okay.
As a reminder, what was the base flood elevation for this area?
Elevation 15 is base flood.
And the 12-inch elevation for the skirting would put that at.
So right now the ground surface around the house is at approximately elevation 8.5. Elevation 9, 8.6. Yeah, so it's 8.5 to 9.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Yep.
Do we have anybody in the audience for this one?
Raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised at the moment.
Okay.
We've been, for a while, the language in the conditions was discouraging it. And then we were just saying no, as far as lattice underneath the homes. But the idea was we don't want it to wash away and then be a problem elsewhere when these storms come through. That tends to be what happens. So being several feet or being above the ground certainly would help, I would think, for being washed away.
Right. I know that there's a lot of publications or several publications and guidance from FEMA on skirting. And I agree with Robbie, that we just need to be more consistent. However, what does change with this is the existing elevation around the building. So in this case, it's elevation 15, but we're at an elevation that's at 8. So we've got 6 or 7 feet of potential flood area there to take out the skirting.
Yeah.
And I think that's the worry that we've been having, is that so much of it that we've seen in the past winds up getting torn away and winds up being pollution or garbage somewhere. So having additional space under it at least allows that water to flow a little more freely, was the logic in trying to keep the skirting up. I know that doesn't do everything to totally conceal things around the house, but it does help a lot when it comes to avoiding other issues. And when the water is really moving through these places, the 1/4-inch spacing between, or 1/2-inch spacing between the slats is not sufficient, especially when it gets clogged with other debris that's already in the water. So I do think keeping these up higher, or some other mechanism where they're allowed to fold up, or so, I don't know, but it's kind of late to get into all of this. I guess to Eric's point, to have these folks come and ask us for this, as opposed to show up and where we've said no skirting and then we just find it's done, or somebody's paved or concreted under the house. In both cases, do appreciate that. So I don't have a strong feeling on the material. I'm probably going to lean towards Robbie and think that maybe the stone is a better choice. And but I do think a decent distance between the ground and the bottom of the skirting is critical. So if somebody wants to propose a size, a height to that, we could move forward.
Well, Frank?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going along with the last ones that we've allowed skirting. We told them 24 inches in previous meetings over the fall. So that's where I'm coming with the 24. So there's plenty of room for water to flow through, and like you said, not taking the skirting with it.
Okay.
And I'd like, to see it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, that's a motion.
Okay, we have a second?
No, nobody else
second.
wants it.
That's Eric. All in favor, Roger?
No, not because I want to be difficult, but I want to better understand how we got to 24. That's all I'm saying. Is it an arbitrary number? So I'm just going to say no on this one.
Okay, Robbie.
I don't even know what we're voting on.
It's the
skirting.
Height of the bottom of the skirting above the ground. So the applicant asked that the skirting be 1 foot above the ground. Penny's saying she feels it should be 2 feet above the ground.
So what does yes mean and what does no mean?
So right, Penny's made a motion to allow them to do skirting 2 feet above the ground, or the bottom of the skirting to be 2 feet above the ground. So a yes would say that that's okay.
And also we would want, appropriate space between slats.
Right.
We don't want it to become enclosed.
But I think the applicant was saying 12 inches, right?
That's correct.
You okay with 24 inches?
The applicant is okay with 24 inches.
Oh,
Then the vote is moot, right?
There we
Right.
go.
there you go.
All right. So we have motion, second, and a vote. So good. Do we need anything else on that one, Jen?
Nope. And no, we're good. Thank you.
Okay. Get us past 9 o'clock and we're pretty.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, rock
Yeah.
and roll. Let's go. 9/11.
Go.
I'm falling asleep.
The battle of attrition.
That'll do it. How about 22 Barry's Landing? What do we have for that one, Greg?
Oh,
Sure. This was originally filed as a notice of intent for 22 Barry's Landing for a pool project and an addition project. As you recall, it fronts on the North River. We had gone to the North River Commission twice with the project in the last couple of months. We go back to them actually tomorrow night, and we expect their approval tomorrow night. We've scaled back the project very significantly. We've eliminated the entire pool and patio project. At this point, the project is just a small addition on the back of the house. It's a 10-foot by 12-foot addition. That addition is over an existing bluestone patio and a pergola, so there's no disturbance of any vegetation at the site. It's outside of the FEMA flood zone. It's outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Jen?
That my understanding also is going to North River tomorrow. It is proposed over an area where there's a patio. The patio has changed a bit over the last few years. I think that it's our jurisdiction is that 100-foot buffer. So, and it's outside the 50-foot buffer as far as the Scituate jurisdiction is concerned. I don't know if you want to ask for or encourage any other trees to be planted along the river. But other than that, I don't think I have many comments.
Okay. So I what I've got in front of me is an old plan. So the revised plan just shows that addition.
Yeah,
Sure.
can we zoom in a bit more?
Yep, it's that small grayed out 10-foot by 12-foot addition on the river side of the house that you see on the screen here.
Got it. Okay. Who wants to go on to this one? Eric?
As I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but this addition's going over an existing concrete slab that is also within a altered bluestone patio area, correct?
Correct.
I am good.
Oh, okay. Roger?
No questions.
Robbie?
Is the addition living space? What's the function of the?
Yes, it is living space. It's a expansion of the kitchen.
Thank you. No other questions.
And okay. And Penny?
I'm all set, Frank. Thank you.
Okay. That's all right. Okay. And so with regard to the North River, doesn't really matter whether we vote first or second or
It really doesn't. No.
okay.
So,
I don't see anything significant. Was there any tree loss or any other work that is going to
No, not with this project. With the previous submittal, we were taking down a couple of trees and we were, adding impervious surface. We were going to trigger a stormwater permit, I think. So we've eliminated all of that. The North River's biggest concern on a site like this is the width of the building or the width of the infrastructure at the site with respect to the river. And they didn't want to see the expansion with the pool extending beyond, I think 60 feet is the maximum width that they wanted within the 100-foot setback of the river. And this house, as it is today, is exactly at that requirement. So there was no expansion out to the side of it, only off the back of it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Make a motion to close.
I think that's a good one.
I make a motion to close.
It's
an
Penny.
issue.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Eric. All in favor, Roger?
Yes.
And Robbie?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank God.
Okay. Can we, and we're going to
Continue 1820 Country Way.
To an undetermined time?
Well, we needed to pick a date. We just got the request to continue. So it would either be
How
March
much
6th.
time do they need? I mean, we've kicked this one out a little while.
I mean, I would recommend one of the later March ones so that we have enough time to get the plan and get it reviewed. And I know they're working with multiple boards.
Okay.
So maybe March 30th. That way we should have
Okay.
ample
Is
time.
Greg still on or is he gone?
I am. March 30th would be perfectly fine with the applicant. We go back to the planning board on March 12th. So that works.
Okay.
All right. So get a motion for that.
I make a motion to continue 1820 Country Way to March 30th.
That's Penny. Second.
I'll second.
That's Eric. All in favor, Roger?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay. So let's do this as quickly as
Quickly
possible.
as we can, please.
All right. I have no other comments.
Well, okay. So quick, can we vote the minutes? 11:17.
Penny,
Huh?
make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I make a motion we accept the
Did
minutes
that sound
as written
bad?
for.
Sorry.
Is that what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah, it is. My apologies. It was a little abrupt.
From November 17th.
It's a motion from Penny, a second.
I'll second.
From Eric. All in favor. Roger?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Thank you, Penny.
And then a modification request. I'm happy to accept it as a modification administratively, but just since we've recently talked about 42 Captain Pierce, the new owners provided a planting plan for a generous amount of the lawn, wanting to do something other than lawn. So I thought I would share it just so you know what's going on there. And this is all outside of the area that already has a planting plan that's being monitored, as well as needs a few extra plants. So it isn't on top of that. It's outside of the planting plan area.
I hope it's this colorful in real life.
Hey, that's amazing.
Right?
That is
I doubt it.
So I they presented this and wanted to, if anybody has any issues, let me know. But otherwise, I was going to accept it as a modification.
Eric, can you comment on this in 30 seconds or less?
I think it's wonderful that we get a plan like this showing an improvement to a site such as it's displaying. And I think that the amount of native plants in here is fantastic.
Awesome. Thank you
So
very
do we
much.
have to vote on this, Jen?
Nope.
No, you don't.
No.
So I'm just giving you the update.
We have one more vote to do tonight.
Well, I have one other thing to add,
Yeah, wait a
just
second.
not for us to think about
Okay.
tonight, but as it regards to skirting, and as Roger pointed out, coming up with a standard, I think one thing that we should think about is using base flood elevation moving forward. How that happens, I don't know, but base flood is at least a standard across all sites And how that intersects with what our standard is, I don't know, but I think that's the metric that we should base things off of.
Okay. I'm
So
going to
it
try
would be
to.
like
Eric, can I-
12 inches above that base elevation is what how we'd be saying it, or 24 inches, or
18, yeah.
I'm not entirely
That's my
sure,
question. Yeah.
but using
I'll-
base flood across the board, I think is how we should sort of view that.
I think
Sorry,
that's
John.
I think it's important, but it's also important to remember that the base flood elevation, but that the actual topography can be considerably different on each
Yeah.
site. And I got to pull up some of that FEMA stuff. I've got a pile of.
the house next to it has skirting and it looks like it's 12 inches off of their paver,
Right.
material underneath it.
They
And-
also have an enforcement order for
They're bad people.
I just was
looks
trying
great.
to pick. I was just trying to pick something that is ubiquitous, a measurement that already exists that we could sort of try to leverage. But I hear you on the topography. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I think it's something that we need to do, and I don't think it should be on a whim. I think we should have a good understanding, and I know that there's a decent amount of information from FEMA and some of these organizations on just how we should consider this, and it's well thought out. So we need to gather some of that.
Corey has
Surprising
some
there's
good
not
comments.
skirting
I'll
that.
send those out.
I'm sorry, what was that, Roger? Or
I
Robbie?
think Jen was speaking.
No, I jumped in. I was going to say Corey has some good comments she's provided about how high things should be off the ground because it can get confusing. I'll send her comments out.
Okay, that'd be helpful. All right.
And I just wanted to, has anyone else had trouble hearing Jen tonight, or is it just me?
I had no problem hearing you tonight.
That's because I'm loud. I'm asking because I have not been able to hear Jen all night.
And okay on my end.
I'm okay.
The
But
rest
we
of
can
you,
we can ask her to speak up. Maybe your volume needs to get turned up a little bit.
Yeah, I'll work on that. Pre-meeting, next meeting.
no, I can barely hear her. All right, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Penny. Do you have
You're
a second?
welcome, sir.
I'll second.
That's from Eric. Well, I'm sorry. What was that? An enforcement order? Do we need to vote an enforcement order?
No.
Oh, well, we need to ratify the enforcement order
thanks,
for 42
Josh.
Crescent. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yep. Thank you, Josh.
So I'll make a motion to ratify the enforcement order for 126 Edward Foster and 42 Crescent Ave.
Okay. And
Somebody second it, please.
I second that.
okay, that's Eric. All in favor? Roger?
Yes.
Robbie?
Sorry, I don't know what this action is.
So on 126 Edward Foster, that we found a patio that was constructed without
Illegal.
It's more the term ratify. Like, what are we doing?
Jen?
Yeah, so the enforcement order is a DEP form for you to sign. So instead of issuing orders, you're ratifying the enforcement order. So I could send it in and that all of you have signed it as well.
Make it official, Robbie.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And Frank, yes.
And I think the
Alan.
important thing is with these, and maybe particularly 126, is that they obtain compliance before we hear anything.
Well, and I
if
think
there's anything to
in the case of 42, this job's gone sideways from the start, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
correct.
no
Been a
problem
nightmare.
making them, toe the line.
Okay. So let's go back to I'm making a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that a second time.
Okay.
Roger,
Yes.
Robbie,
Yes.
and Frank, yes, for sure. Sorry it's so late. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
Good
you.
Have a good
night.
night, everybody.
We
Well,
knew
you
one of
know
these was
what
gonna.
made the meeting long, Frank.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
do. Goodbye.
Good night.
Good night.